Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. OBS seems to be acting a bit strange, but it's okay. We're back. OBS kicked me out. OBS kicked me out, no problem. But we're good. So as I was trying to say, yeah, it seemed like nothing to see here. Yeah, it seemed like an overall fail. We do have yes, refresh, that's right. Chat, if the stream still looks down for you, just hit the good old refresh. We're back. OBS had a hiccup there. In any case, yeah, it looked like a total fail. We do have one clip, so I guess we can start with that. Vincent's Firewind, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Alrighty. Lots of talking points were hit during this interview. From what I saw, a lot of xenophobic, anti-immigration talking points. But
you know, the biggest threat is not global warming, where the ocean's going to rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 400 years.
That's grossly mischaracterizing how climate change works, but okay.
And you'll have more oceanfront property, right? The biggest threat is not that. The biggest threat is nuclear warming. You know, the biggest threat...
Nuclear warmint. Amazing. So, naturally, the netizens on Twitter, brought this one back to life.
So let's say, for the sake of argument, that all of the water levels around the world rise by let's say 5 feet over the next 100 years, say 10 feet by the next 100 years, and it puts all the low-lying areas on the coast underwater, right? Which, let's say all of that happens. You think that people aren't going to just sell their homes and move?
Just one small problem. Sell their houses to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman!
Yeah. So that pretty much summarized that exchange right there. I saw that like a lot of people just couldn't stand hearing the spaces for too long, and Trump sounded very, very incoherent, and just kind of rambling about different things, and Elon just nodding along. So yeah, I mean, like, what else is there to say, right? It sounded like the thing was a total disaster, based on what I've seen, and nothing of importance really came up that we didn't know already, you know? Elon's lips to Trump's butt is all I heard. Yeah, like a lot of it was just him nodding along, like, exactly, yeah. So yeah, pretty uneventful.
Once he goes off the rails, it becomes confusing, and I wish I could talk to him and say, just stick to policy.
Stop questioning the size of her crowds.
So here's what I would say to President Trump. The problem I have with Kamala Harris is not her heritage, it's her judgment.
Some of it became about Brian Kemp, the Republican governor. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Shooting inside the tent right now of the Republican Party, that's a loser strategy. That's not going to work.
When Trump attacks Harris personally, rather...
And Trump is absolutely insane. It sounded like it, just rambling, random rambling. Trump, you're making us look bad. Yep. Hey, you guys made this. You guys made your own bed. Now, the chickens are coming home to roost.
Then on policy, Harris's support among swing voters rises, particularly among women.
Trump's frustrated. He's arguing crowd size, claiming her numbers are inflated by AI. He's miffed that Harris has taken over his no tax on tips idea. He's actually looking back to 2020.
Which, by the way, I'm not really sold on that idea. I'm still not a fan of Kamala Harris either. Her record is not awesome. Understandable. Understandable, but I would pose that it's a slightly better position that we were looking at a couple weeks ago.
Telling a big donor, we've got to stop the steal all over again. This is according to the New York Times, which also reports he used foul language to describe his opponent. Not a good idea if you want to attract suburban women who can make or break your campaign.
You just heard from a number of Trump's own allies who desperately tried to explain to him that whatever campaign strategy he thinks he's using right now, it's not working. The conspiracy mongering about Kamala Harris's race and personal attacks against her, it's all turning off regular people, and if he doesn't change course, he's going to lose this election. And that sentiment is shared by most people in the MAGA world right now.
Oh no. I think there's a strategy. Agreed, better than Biden, but the DNC knew they would have lost. So you support Kamala Harris. I'm definitely supporting her more than Joe Biden. And we're talking about like degrees here, you know? We're talking about degrees. Welcome, Bipedal Meatbag. You more than Trump? 100%. Why would anybody support Trump? She's a fart that happens before the poop that is Trump. Yeah, like who would support Trump?
And
like which logical human being would actually support Trump? Doesn't make any sense.
Including some of the most sycophantic Trump loyalists, such as Laura Loomer, who tweeted that
I'm not from the US, got it. No worries. Well, yeah. Literally any logical human being that is able to vote in America should not be supporting Trump. Period, full stop.
This quote, President Trump needs to make some serious changes in his campaign ASAP. The ground game is not sufficient. The offense is lacking. The communication is.
Why is that? Because Trump is Trump. I don't know how to explain that. Basically, we're strong-armed into voting for Harris to avoid Trump. Essentially, yes. Yes, we're back in the same position that we were in 2020. That's literally, we're back in the same exact position that we were in 2020. Is it because of Trump or because of his agenda? Yes. The answer to that is yes. Yes, exactly. Welcome, Cognizant. Screw candidate support, they get enough from their owners.
It's dismal. The momentum is crashing. Why are people who want to assist being pushed away instead of being embraced? 89 days left. You need a lot more than just vibes. God only knows how many opportunities have been missed. Sad to see talent go to waste. Listen, when Laura Loomer, of all people, says it's bad, then you know it's bad. And someone should probably save that tweet, because if he does lose, we all know that she's going to be one of the loudest people claiming that it was stolen, but this is her admitting that he's running a terrible campaign, which implies that if he loses, it'll be his fault and his fault alone, not fraud. But what's adding to their frustration is Trump's refusal to listen to good faith advice from his own allies. But it's not just Trump allies who he won't listen to. He seemingly won't even listen to his own damn advisors, because as Axios reports, quote, former President Trump's advisors are deeply rattled by his meandering, mean, and often middling public performances since the failed assassination attempt. They're pleading with him to adopt a new hard-hitting stump speech to define Vice President Harris as liberal and weak, advisors tell us, and praying he'll stop the recidivistic pull to simply improvise haphazardly reportedly. Advisors are telling him Harris will grow her lead coming out of the Democratic convention, which begins a week from tomorrow, especially if they don't define her better, faster. Then, just a week after the convention, it's already Labor Day. Republican sources close to Trump tell us he realizes he needs to bring new focus to a message that can be meandering and self-indulgent. But it's Trump, so a new script is often...
What? Yes. Yes to both. I asked if it's because of his behavior, yes, or because of his agenda, yes. Yes, he's a fascist. Like, that's the beginning and end of that conversation, right? He's a fascist, and I don't like fascists. It's that simple. I don't like authoritarian fascists. So, yeah.
Fictional wishfulness. Trump is, quote, struggling to get past his anger, a top Republican source tells us. Trump's aides know he won't change, so they're focusing not on the need for him to change, but on the need to adapt his message to win, the source said. But he has to convince himself to leave the other garbage behind. So even his own advisors know that it's kind of a lost cause at this point because Trump is going to be Trump, and there's not really anything you can do to change that, which is why they're praying he changes course rather than advising him to change course, because that's completely pointless. Trump is going to do what he wants to do, and if he's pissy, he's going to whine. We've been dealing with Trump now for nearly 10 years, and we all know exactly how he's going to behave. It's going to be based on his mood or whether or not he feels like his ego needs to be stroked more. Now, unfortunately for the Trump campaign, they're running against a campaign that actually wants to win and knows how to use his own impulses against him. And they know how to get into his head. And I say this because Kamala Harris's campaign has been going on Truth Social and comparing the size of her crowds to his crowds. And this strategy is clearly paying off because it's now the only thing that Trump is able to focus on. And to demonstrate how that's the case, I'm going to play a quick compilation from CNN of Trump coping and seething about crowd sizes. But at the end of the clip, CNN's Jim Acosta is going to give us some additional insight into what Trump's own team is saying about this, and it's very, very telling.
They said, oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd. The press is talking about the crowd. In New Jersey, I had 107,000 people. The press never even talked about it. Because they're fake.
Wait, 100? Hold on.
And it's very, very telling.
They said, oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd. The press is talking about the crowd. In New Jersey, I had 107,000 people. The press...
107,000 people? Sure, bud.
Never even talked about it. Because they're fake. I have 10 times, 20 times, 30 times the crowd size. In history, for any country, nobody's had crowds like I have. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King...
Man, the insecurity of this little man is glaring.
When he...
it is palpable how insecure he is, right?
His speech, his great speech.
Yeah, he compared his crowds to MLK. Like, man, I wonder what will happen if he loses. Hopefully, he just goes away forever. Someone changes diaper and get him a binky. I mean, I have seen Trey from Fish address pretty large crowds.
And you look at ours, same real estate, same everything. We actually had more people.
I was talking to a Trump advisor earlier this morning and asking him about, Trump harping on this crowd size issue and asked, why is he doing this? And the response I got in the text was, quote, no effing clue.
Okay, I need you all to understand this. When a Trump advisor responds to a question from a CNN anchor, knowing what he says is going to be broadcasted to millions of people, and his response is that he's got no effing clue why Trump's doing what he's doing, you know that person is frustrated with Donald Trump.
Yeah, the ship is without a rudder, and it's just kind of meandering.
because it is his job. It is the job of the Trump team to make him.
Sorry, I muted myself. So, will there be a violent protest? The likelihood is much higher than I would like. The likelihood of them potentially doing violent insurrectionary behavior is much higher than it was last time. If Trump wins and protests happen, they'll be met with brutal force that will result in martial law. If Trump loses, there'll be protests and be protected because those who wear badges are the same who burns crosses. Yeah, but definitely, no, they're asking if he loses, will there be violent protests? The likelihood is probably, yeah. Cody Culp on YouTube, on YouTube. Yes, I apologize. Pro streamer moment. Thank you.
Look as good as possible, but even they're not trying to spin it. They're just kind of doing what we're all doing. They're shrugging and they're just saying, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Your guess is as good as mine. It's Donald Trump. Wow.
Please welcome President Ronald Reagan.
Ronald
who has
Reagan.
a few questions for you.
Wait, Ronald Reagan?
Go to the poll.
So they are in bad shape right now. But Kamala's strategy of getting in his head over crowds is paying off way more than anyone ever anticipated. And I say that because we all know their goal was to bait him into looking unhinged.
Right, like, man, who would have thought that the key to like unraveling these fascists is to just call them weird and force out their insecurities by pointing out the crowd sizes. Yeah, definitely a lot of Reagan fans here. I wasn't aware that he came back from the dead to give us this message.
But I don't even think they anticipated how effective that strategy would be, because he tweeted this on Truth Social, quote, "Has anyone noticed that Kamala cheated at the airport? There was nobody at the plane, and she AI'd and showed a massive crowd of so-called followers, but they didn't exist. She was turned in by a maintenance worker at the airport when he noticed the fake crowd picture, but there was nobody there. Later confirmed by the reflection of the mirror, like finish on the vice presidential plane. She's a cheater. She had nobody waiting, and the crowd looked like 10,000 people. Same thing is happening with her fake crowds at her speeches. This is the way Democrats win elections, by cheating, and they're even worse at the ballot box. She should be..."
Invisible accordion. Yeah, true. The way you win elections is by AI and crowds. Amazing.
Disqualified because the creation of a fake image is election interference. Anyone who does that will cheat at anything. Now, he also followed up saying, "Look, we caught her with a fake crowd. There's nobody there." And this is so fucking stupid, even by Donald Trump's own standards. I expect him to promote the dumbest conspiracy theories imaginable, but even by his standards, this has got me scratching my head thinking, oh my God, is he actually crazy? He might be crazy. Like, he's genuinely lost it. Just. Yep. Now, the problem with this.
Apparently that's all you needed to do is just poke at his crowd sizes and constantly attack the Republicans as weird. That's it. That was the key the whole time. Look at that.
Conspiracy theory, aside from how stupid it makes him look, is that it's very easy to debunk. All you have to do is look up a video. Here, I'll show you one. The crowd, as you can see, is very much real, not AI generated. And not to mention, there were other perspectives of people.
The video is AI generated. Mike, nobody has crowd sizes like me, okay? Just look at the video, okay? It's all AI generated.
In different videos that were taking pictures of the crowd and taking pictures of themselves. And unfortunately for him, he's kind of creating a Streisand effect around Kamala's crowds, because now her supporters are showing up to rallies, taking selfies with themselves and all the other people there and saying, hey, I'm a very real Kamala supporter and I'm here with all these other real people. And those posts are now going viral. So everything he says is hurting him. But this is the problem with Donald Trump. He is incapable of thinking that anyone could ever be as popular as him or even have crowd sizes as big as his. So,
right, because he has a massive insecurity problem, right? Like, this is very obvious that that's what's going on here.
You know, if reality hurts his ego, we all know by now he denies reality and concocts dumbass conspiracy theories to protect his ego. But even his own allies this time are not going along with it because they all know it's hurting him. For example, both Matt Walsh and online grifter Ian Miles Chong debunked and condemned Trump's AI crowd conspiracy theory, which is really interesting to see. And a frustrated Tim Pool chimed in saying, Trump has awful advisors or no advisors. Oh, but he has advisors, Tim, but they're as frustrated as you are because he won't fucking listen to them. But you know Trump's in bad shape if far-right propagandists are literally debunking his conspiracy theories because they think it's going to make him look worse. Usually they just go along with what he has to say because they know that his cultists are going to attack them for daring to speak out. But everybody knows he's in such bad shape that they have to get him to stop. And if he won't stop, they have to say that they know that what he's saying is wrong because it makes all other Trump supporters look as unhinged as they really are. And Trump's doing so bad, even Ben Shapiro is memeing about how bad he's doing because as much as conservatives try to deny reality, nobody can pretend Trump's doing good right now. And their frustration is compounded by the fact that this is a really close race and Trump can still win, believe it or not. So we're going to listen to GOP pollster Frank Lutz, who's going to explain why Trump's allies are begging him to stop being unhinged and focus more on policy.
Donald Trump has not had 2 good weeks since Biden pulled out. He's been off message. He's been very negative and very hostile, and clearly he's kind of lost his balance. He absolutely emerged from the convention with a clear and convincing lead. But what has happened, he stopped talking about immigration. He stopped talking about...
That's not true. Dude, all he talks about is how brown people are going to destroy the nation. Like, that's literally all he talks about. He even talked about it in that absurd Twitter space with Elon. I saw some clips of him talking about immigration. Like, that's literally all he talks about. His only talking points, as far as you can make them out to be his talking points, are immigration, and crime. That's it. That's literally immigration, crime, and that's it. That's all he's got.
About inflation, and instead he's been so personal with his attacks that voters are starting to recoil, and it's been really an awful 2 weeks for him. And we see it because we're doing focus groups now, trying to measure those who are coming over to Harris who do not support Biden. And make no mistake, they are issue voters, and nothing matters more to them than either inflation, which I call affordability, because they simply can't get the food and the housing and the health care and the fuel and all the things they want to live. And it's also immigration, which is a broader issue to them because that's a sense of safety and security. Trump has the advantage, and this is what I do not understand as a pollster and someone who's been doing this for 35 years.
Immigration and inflation are his best shot at Kamala. Or his best shot, though, at Kamala.
Trump has the advantage on these issues by 10, 15, even 20 points. And yet he's not talking about them. She's on message. He is not. He has lost touch with the people that he needs, and she is in perfect touch. Look at the rallies. Look at how she relates to them. The challenge is what happens when she has a press conference. What happens when she faces people like you asking questions like yours? That's significant. She hasn't had to do it, and eventually she will be forced to do so. But as it's happening right now, her attributes versus Trump's issues, she's got the lead.
Just to remind you, that's a GOP pollster there. But to be clear, Trump's not only doing bad because he's refusing to talk about policy and continues to spiral, he's also doing bad because Kamala Harris is doing really good. She's speaking to issues that voters care about. And she's still hitting Trump, to be fair. She's making fun of him and talking about the threat that he poses to democracy. But what she's saying about policy is resonating with voters, as evidenced by the fact that she's now overtaken Trump when it comes to voter trust on the economy, according to a Financial Times survey.
Sheesh. Trump lost Rogan and Nick Fuentes in the same week.
And to be fair, her lead is very small, but any lead a Democrat has on the economy is significant, because I can't remember the last time that a Democrat was actually ahead of a Republican when it comes to the economy. Voters almost always say that they trust Republicans more on the economy because Republicans lie, and they've been pushing trickle-down economics for decades now. So, we're all programmed to think that what Republicans say is automatically correct. So the fact that Kamala is getting through to those people tells us that she's running a damn good campaign. Her messaging is very effective. So yes, Trump's doing really poorly, but she's also running an incredible campaign. Now, you'd be mistaken to assume that the race is over, to be clear, because things can change between now and November. Trump could find his footing, and Kamala could have some missteps. She could stumble. That's entirely possible. But as it stands right now, Trump is running such a poor campaign. He is actively damaging his own chances of winning, and right now he's in free fall and refuses to listen to anyone who is begging him to do better.
Good. Kamikaze, welcome. Better late than never. True. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you. I love that.
That's the state of the race. It might change, it might not change, but either way, right now, I'm really enjoying what's happening in this race.
I'm gonna come.
Do not come.
Come.
Thanks, Mike. I swear, that outro music is always on point.
Maggie Haberman on with Caitlin Collins. She's talking about this story. She has written with I think it's
Jonathan Swan.
Jonathan Swan, talking about how the switch from Biden to Harris left the campaign in disarray, particularly also in the wake of J.D. Vance. That quote that Donald Trump said
in the piece.
Yes, that Donald Trump said at a.
This is kind of like speaking to the possibilities of like what's going on behind the scenes, and why the Trump campaign is basically is crashing out.
Fundraiser. They're not calling me weird. They're calling JD weird.
Yeah, why are you asking me about that?
I don't know. It's JD's fault, right? Don Jr. But he's become angry. He is lashing out at people. He lashed out at Miriam Adelson, in part spurred by another super PAC funder who was pissed that Miriam Adelson set up her own PAC instead of like funding his PAC. He's pissed that Kamala Harris is getting good earned media because that's his thing. He has
and bigger crowds.
And much bigger crowds.
Yeah, he's freaking losing it. So fucking weird. I see what you guys are doing there. Vladimir Futon.
Let's go through what I think, rather than Maggie Haberman, frankly, is more interesting to see how he's actually acting out. He posted this on Twitter that is about Harris's rally.
Or on Truth Social.
On Truth Social, I guess. Yeah, and he's just recently done. And he writes on Truth Social, has anyone noticed that Kamala cheated?
Maya knows how quality care can bring out a smile.
At the airport. Now,
yeah, I think we went over this.
There was nobody at that plane. There were two different images that were side by side in a tweet. Here looks like the actual crowd. Play the video.
There we go.
Oh, turn the music down.
Picture, but there was nobody there.
Elon Musk, who he's about to do an interview with tonight, which is why he's tweeted for the first time in 3 years. Elon Musk, in violation of the terms of service of his own website, tweeted out that AI-generated "I'm a DEI" ad by Kamala Harris that deployed an AI version of her voice on his own website. And Donald Trump's now complaining about non-usage of AI. And I've got news for him. It looks like 10,000 people, but it actually was 15,000 people, buddy.
But the fascinating thing about this is it's like clear that his aides basically said, like, you can post whatever you want on Truth Social.
Right.
Because nobody's there. It is literally just a husk of a site set up to basically, it seems like, launder money to him. Or, give him an embezzlement. I mean, they're burning hundreds of millions of dollars a quarter
yes.
on that site. And it's unclear, like, what it is. It's unclear to me how that would, like, unless they, it's
we
unclear
actually
to me
had
how you
David
spend-
Friedlander on of New York Magazine to talk about this last Thursday, and basically it's just because they got a public offering, and now his fans on like the Reddit Bro and Wall Street Bets folks are betting on DJT coin or DJT stock. It's essentially how they can show support or lack thereof, or bet on his future prospects. It's like his personal brand being traded on the stock exchange. It makes zero sense.
Makes zero sense, but also the burn rate is what I can't get. Like, how
and there
do you
should be an
spend
investigation.
$230 million in a quarter on a social media site that has already been built? I just don't understand it. But nevertheless, it's going to be interesting to see if they keep him from doing that on Twitter, because when he does this on Truth Social, people just see him letting his freak flag fly, and he also threatened to sue. Do we have any clip of this, or is this this is in the Maggie Haberman thing, right? He threatens to sue. Put up his tweet. Two failing New York Times reported questioned my story about a forced landing of a helicopter in a field with former mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, and others. First of all, it was in New Jersey, not California. It was Willie Brown, not former Governor Jerry Brown. So they are as far about as accurate as they are with other stories about me. At least when I became president, the New York Times apologized to their readers in their really bad reporting on the presidential race, blah, 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 blah. Maggot Hagerman, I guess maybe she may have she finally sort of cashed in her chips. It feels like maybe her book, is there a book coming out or another book? Is that right?
I think she does have a book coming out.
Oh, there
yes.
you go. So it's burn time. Should apologize for fake and fraudulent writing on the Russia hoax, along with the poorly bad research stories, his willingness, dishes, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out it was not Willie Brown, and that it was not Jerry Brown. It turned out that it was a different politician who was black. Do we have this guy? It was the other black politician who says he was in a Trump with that near fatal chopper crash. It was former Los Angeles City Council member and State Senator Nate Holden. Okay, close enough. I said.
Yeah. That's the kind of vibes I'm getting, Michael Hassler.
I said Willie Brown. It was Willie Black. I mean, whatever. Ooh. It was black guy. Black guy politician. Okay. Here's Maggie Haberman on Caitlin Collins.
But just I want to pause quickly for a sec. So the story that supposedly Willie Brown told Trump as they were about to die in a helicopter crash about Kamala Harris, it couldn't have been. They couldn't have discussed Kamala Harris with this guy who he confused with Willie Brown, because that wouldn't have made any sense.
Well, Holden, who was from Los Angeles, could have been talking about somebody who was from San Francisco.
Could have been.
All these people.
We're about to go down. I got to get this off my chest.
Yes.
About something that happened to Willie Brown.
That's a lot.
20th on the moments from yesterday's news conference, but why is he angry about this, and why is he calling you about it?
So the phone call was actually on another topic, and then in the middle of it, he started railing about this story because the New York Times and other publications wrote about the fact that Willie Brown, as you know, said it on CNN too, says this did not happen. Trump got asked about Willie Brown, and he brought up this helicopter story. And what I learned today is that Trump put this story in his 2023 book, Letters to Trump. One of the letters he included was from Willie Brown. They knew each other in the 1990s, and he referenced this alleged helicopter emergency landing. Fine. Nobody noticed it at the time. His issue is with Willie Brown, who is saying that this didn't happen. But in the middle of it, he said that he has, in the middle of this phone conversation, he said they found the records and it landed in a field and, indicated that he was going to release them. And I said that I would love to see them. And he made fun of me asking that in a sort of child sing-song voice, and then said he was probably going to sue.
Oh, you'd like to see them?
Write the story, but I assumed he meant the paper for writing about this.
You'd like to see them?
Jeez,
As
man.
these records, he should show them. What I thought was most interesting about this conversation, although certainly if he has these records, we would write about it. It'd be interesting. Was that he was focusing on this because that is what we have seen him do historically when he is in times of stress.
What do you mean in a sing-song voice? Like, you asked a question.
Yeah, can we get
I don't want to do a recreation here.
Wait. No. Hold on. Can we get a demonstration, please? Because that would be freaking cold. Okay. Can we get a demonstration of? We need an impression of how that conversation went down. Okay. Or release the the recording if it exists.
It was that I asked a question and I said I would love to see the records, and it was oh, you'd love to see the records in a sort of, in a
You'd like to see the records. Oh man.
Okay. So this came after the New York Times wrote up about that news conference yesterday and all of the moments that happened inside of it. Part of that said, the goal of Mr. Trump's news conference was to highlight that Ms. Harris is yet to hold a news conference of her own or to give an unscripted interview to the news media.
That is what we speculated was the reason for that press conference the other day. And he was so poorly executed that it ended up biting him in the ass. Nobody came out of that going like, hey, how come Kamala Harris hasn't had a press conference? Everybody came out of that saying, why did Donald Trump do that press conference?
Well, he did it to, apparently, try to highlight that she hadn't done a news conference, but he didn't go any steps further than that because they still haven't landed on any attack line on her. He keeps, this is what's incredible. In the way that Biden would keep going back to the past and we would get so enraged about his conversations about what he did and not looking towards the future to give an agenda to the public. Trump is now doing the exact same stuff. He can't stop talking about Biden. Throughout that meandering press conference, he just goes into how they've done Biden so poorly, the Democratic Party, how they've screwed him over, how we really should be running against him, as if he cared about Biden at all beforehand. He just wanted to defeat him.
You're giving Trump no credit because he stopped talking about 2020.
He did. You're right.
So he's moved forward into the past.
Into the more recent past. Into the other candidate that he's not running against, which is what must piss off these donors more than anything, is that he's not running against the person in front of him right now.
Keep playing this Haberman thing, because here's the thing that really I find just incredible about...
I didn't see this interview, by the way, or this CNN clip.
Haberman and the New York Times still, even at this point, continue.
News comments of her own or to give an unscripted interview to the news media. Both of those things are true. We just talked to Pete Buttigieg about it, but how do they think that they achieved their goal in this?
So it's interesting, Caitlin. Yesterday was such an example of how these two campaigns, and this has been true of every campaign that I have covered going back to 2004, they are living in different bubbles. Those bubbles have gotten more divergent as partisanship has gotten worse. And as, create your own media adventures have increased, where there's, proliferation of outlets, more proliferation of partisan outlets, people can choose what information they want to believe. And so these bubbles exist, and there's these wildly different theories of the case. And so if you talk to the Harris people, their basic take was this was a gift. He said a bunch of things that we are going to be able to use. And if you talk to the Trump people, it was, generally speaking, we were really happy that he stood there for an hour and he took questions. And, yes.
Stop this. Okay. Now, there's a reason why for Maggie Haberman, since she's been covering this in 2004, that things all have remained identical, where you have these two campaigns and they're both in their own bubbles, as opposed to one bubble where the guy's talking about helicopter crashes with the wrong person, who told him a story that he couldn't possibly have told about Kamala Harris, talking about AI stuff, talking all sorts of nonsense at his campaign. And another one, Bubble.
I've known Vice President Harris for nearly 2 decades. We're both prosecutors. We both are for the people, and we both stand up for the rule of law.
Completely structured in the exact same way, which is just basically saying, he's insane.
He's insane.
Talking about reality. That's just a fact. We have criticism of Kamala Harris, this and that. But objectively speaking, you cannot say at 12 noon, when the sun is shining, that it is, if one bubble is saying it's midnight and the other one's saying, no, it's 12 noon, they're not both bubbles.
Right.
One is a bubble that lives in a fictional world, and the other is a bubble we call reality.
Right.
And it encompasses the other bubble, because the way you know the other bubble is out of touch is by being in touch and know what the reality is.
This is kind of like my frustration exactly, perfectly encapsulated right there. That right there is a perfect illustration of how things are. These are not the same. To try to try to say like, oh yeah, there's just does Sam want Biden back? No, he doesn't care. Either way, Sam is perfectly fine with Harris.
Projects this 2004 thing. Like, one group says that John Kerry was actually, shot his own men or something and swift-boated him, and another says that he didn't. They're both bubbles. No, this intense objective by the New York Times to always say everything is equal and the same, structurally at least. It's just a content holder. One happens to be reality and the other happens to be complete lies. This is the problem.
It is, but I would also say, even if you want to just talk about who's living in reality, not on the facts, but in terms of like where the campaign actually is at right now, and who's actually trying to live in reality of like creating a campaign strategy that isn't just about one guy's kind of personal sense of aggrievement and trying to win an election. You could draw some sort of parallel to 2016 in the sense that Trump was in Montana over the weekend, which is not a swing state. And he doesn't give a crap about the Senate. He's fighting for his life so that he doesn't go to jail at this point. He's going about it the wrong way, because he was going there to punish John Tester for sinking his VA pick, if you recall, as opposed to actually reckoning with the fact that he is now losing ground in every single swing state that he would need to win.
200 people there or something.
Yes, and he was going there because he has a personal vendetta against John Tester, one of the more, conservative Democrats in the Senate. But yes, the Democrats need that Senate seat to maintain a majority if Kamala Harris were to win in the fall. But do I think Donald Trump actually cares about that? No, he just cares about his personal aggrievement. And in the long term, I don't think this delivers Montana to him, especially if she continues to campaign smartly. I saw she had some nice words about tribal sovereignty when she was in Arizona and self-determination. That's the kind of language that could also play well in Montana, where there's, a significant portion of indigenous people there as well. And all you need is just not to turn Montana blue, obviously, but to maintain enough so that Tester can be that 50th vote.
Here is Trump at that really anti-Tester rally.
Emma's going to take Sam's job. The M Majority Report.
Exactly.
Trump is more than likely going to win Montana, although maybe this, maybe Trump goes there, depresses his own numbers, and helps John Tester. John Tester is a farmer, and he lost, I think it's 3 fingers on a, some piece of farming equipment. We interviewed him back in the day, back in 2000, I think it was 6. when he won on the majority report. And so Trump sort of starts to allude to that, it seems like, but thinks he's got a good joke. Incidentally, Donald Trump, this is one of those glass houses situations when I would not call Donald Trump the most fit guy.
He got out of Vietnam, I think, specifically because he's not.
His name is John
Finally logged out. Nice.
Tester. And
John Tester.
And I don't speak badly about somebody's physical disability.
Bro.
But he's got the biggest stomach.
Bro, come on. Let me stop you right there. Bro, all you do is talk about people's physical appearance. You made fun of Ted Cruz's wife.
I have ever seen, I swear. I swear. That's the biggest stomach. I have never seen a stomach like that. Because he doesn't look.
Because I've never looked down.
Yeah, dude is throwing. Dude is shooting. Okay, dude is shooting bullets in a glass house. Okay, that's what he's doing. Yeah, exactly. He does make fun of everybody.
Not allowed to use the word fat. So if you use the word fat, you can say obese, you can say anything, but you can't say fat. That's the end of your political career.
What?
I said it the other night. Somebody in the audience said, Chris Christie is a fat pig. And I said, sir, Chris Christie is not a fat pig. You should not. And we argued about it for 3 or 4 minutes. And that was, no, he's not a fat pig. His name is.
You know what's so weird about this? Again, it's like Trump.
Comments about age, mental acuity, genetic. Yeah, exactly. That Trump is hitting all of those. As he looked in the mirror, didn't he make fun of Chris Christie? Didn't he literally make fun of Chris Christie's weight? I'm pretty sure he has. When he was when he was campaigning against him. Like I'm almost positive that he has made fun of Chris Christie's weight. Oh my God.
The latest Morning Consult poll has us far ahead. We're at 59%, and the others are at like 12. One is at 12. I think that's the sanctimonious, but he's rapidly being caught by Ramaswamy.
Donald.
Good. No, Christie's, he's eating right now. He can't be bothered. Sir, please do not call him a fat pig. That's very disrespectful. Don't call him. See, I'm trying to be nice. Don't call him a fat.
Wait. Oh, come on. Joe made fun of Christie's weight in the press conference where Christie endorsed him. Not surprising.
You can't do it. You can't do that. So now, because you're not allowed to do that, and therefore we're not going to do it, okay? We want to be very civil, right?
Bro, you literally just made fun of his weight like literally not 2 seconds before that. Okay? I doubt he remembers their real names at this point. Trump is just an 11-year-old bully in a 70-plus-year-old body with no parental taught social filters.
It's almost like he's lost sight of, I mean, aside from the fact that, like, what are you doing in Montana?
Yeah.
This is, it's not like Trump is doing like, I'm doing 5 states a day. I can do Montana. He's doing like, one trip every couple of days.
Yeah.
And he's going to Montana. Maybe there's some big donor there. I don't know what it is, but
I think there was some fundraising, but people were openly questioning. It's his personal vendetta against John Tester. His brain is broken, and it's this myopic at this point.
And the other thing is like, half the people in the audience are like, who the F is Chris Christie? Like, people don't remember Chris
No one
Christie from
remembers
years
Trump doesn't know
ago.
why he's appealing because
Yes.
he's really appealing because he's the business genius. It's not because he's the insulter that
I
libs
got
freak
news
out
for
about.
you. Maybe I am, but I got laughs. I mean, it's like he's lost sight.
He's not connecting
of why
it
he's campaigning
to any. Yeah.
Like, they love me. Well, they might love you, but you're not really doing anything.
Right. You have to appeal to more people. I saw someone pointed this out on Twitter. It's just a little funny thing, Bradley, if we could pop this up.
Yeah, it's a personal thing. Why is he in Montana? Yeah, exactly. Wants an ego boost. If Tester loses, Republicans control the Senate.
If I just sent it. Be the party frontrunner, crush opponents in the nasty primary, be portrayed as the inevitable winner despite everyone hating you, forget to campaign in swing states, dismiss opponents' crowd size and enthusiasm, have emails hacked and leaked, picture unrelated. And it's just like basically saying that Donald Trump is replicating this 2016 playbook because now his campaign got hacked. And apparently one of the parts of the hack was a 217 page dossier on JD Vance, which could literally just double as Oppo for the Democrats when they were doing the vetting process.
Good thing Peter Thiel sued Gawker out of existence, so they can't release it like they did.
Well,
2016.
Let's be clear. I think at this point, like, I can't remember where somebody tweeted this, and I recall.
It's 51 of 49, so as West Virginia is going red, so it's 50-50. Any Dem Senate loss gives the Republicans a Senate. Yeah.
It was Ken Vogel at Politico at that point, or I don't know where he was. I think he was. Like, he had within a day a blog specifically on Politico that was set up to disseminate this information. Politico has been sitting on it for at least 3 or 4 weeks. It's unclear, like, if any of it's going to get released. And everybody's saying, well, this is, let's put it this way. I would be very surprised if this new responsible form of journalism is maintained if we find out, like, maybe it comes from a different campaign than the Republican one. I mean, this seems really stunning. This stuff last time was disseminated in more or less the same fashion, different country. Supposedly this time they're thinking it could have been the Iranian government. I also will tell you that my understanding is this is not the first time that there has been attempts by the Iranian government to do this.
They love democracy.
Over the course of the past 8 years.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to watch. Like, where are all the people who are pissed about the Hunter Biden laptop? Where is everybody?
Yeah.
And I'll say I'm not pissed about that. We know about COINTELPRO because in 1971, a bunch of people broke into an FBI office, which is illegal, I would say, and stole a bunch of documents, including ones that revealed the existence of COINTELPRO. And a lot of people like to credit our media in that, and it's true that Betty Metzger, who wrote the book on this at the Washington Post, her role in this was truly heroic. But a lot of the newspapers that they wrote to or sent that information to decided we're not going to actually publish this. It's scary. J. Edgar Hoover's still alive. What are you going to do? So, like, we cannot trust, like, that's why I said the thing about Gawker, and it's a shame that we can't have this stuff released, or at least there's a pressure that it might get released if the journalists sit on it, because we can't, I do not trust the editors of America's media to make decisions on this stuff. And like you said,
to arbitrate.
Exactly.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show.
All right, folks. Some important stuff. Arizona to vote on enshrining abortion rights in state constitution in November. Folks, if you live in Arizona or know people that live in Arizona, this is important. Arizona voters will decide this November whether to add abortion rights into their state constitution, a prospect that could turbocharge voter turnout in a critical battleground state in the 2024 election. Late Monday, the Arizona Secretary of State office announced that it had validated the estimated 577,971 signatures in support of a ballot measure, the Arizona for Abortion Access Act, to establish a constitutional right to abortion in the state. On Twitter, the office called the measure the largest petition effort in Arizona history. The measure will be listed on the ballot as Proposition 139. So pay attention, folks, if you know anybody in Arizona or live in Arizona. Proposition 139 is a yes. Arizona is not the only state to face the prospect of an abortion-related ballot measure in this November. So far, states including Colorado, Florida, and Nevada, another key battleground state, are also set to hold similar ballot measures. Tuesday also marks the deadline for the state of Missouri to determine whether to add its own abortion-related measure to the ballot. Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, ballot measures that protect or preserve abortion rights have successfully passed, even in red states such as Ohio, Kansas, and Kentucky. However, they have not been tested during a presidential election. Democrats are hoping that enthusiasm for the measure will boost turnout among their base, especially since the Vice President, Kamala Harris, one of the Democrats' most effective messengers on abortion rights, became the party's nominee. Abortion is currently legal until 15 weeks in Arizona. Earlier this year, the state Supreme Court ruled that a near-total ban from 1864, enacted before Arizona even became a state, could take effect. That ruling unleashed weeks of nationwide outrage that ultimately led a handful of Republicans to break with the party to vote in favor of a bill to repeal the 1864 ban. If passed, Arizona for Abortion Access Act would establish that Arizonans have a fundamental right to abortion. It would protect the right to abortion until fetal viability, which typically dated around 24 weeks of pregnancy, and allow for abortions past that point if a medical provider deems them necessary to protect a pregnant individual's life, physical health, or mental health. In May, a CBS poll found that 66% of Arizona adults want abortion to be legal in all or most cases. There you go. 69 articles. Nice. It's always stuck at that time. I don't know why. But, yeah. Nice. If I had $1 billion spite fund, I would spend $400 million on coast-to-coast ego-busting Trump ads, $100 million promoting Harris Waltz, $200 million advertising what Canadian conservatives will do if they take over, and $300 million boosting what DSA candidates can do for American people. Heat with the 10 biddies keep abortion legal. Agreed. RFK Jr. cannot appear on the New York ballot, the judge rules. The ruling was a blow to Mr. Kennedy's independent campaign for president. The judge said he had used sham address to reclaim residency in New York. It wouldn't be money well spent, but it would be satisfying. Then it was well spent. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s independent presidential campaign was dealt a blow on Monday when a judge ruled that his petition to appear on New York's ballot was invalid, saying Mr. Kennedy had used a sham address to maintain his New York residency. Womp, womp, womp. If the ruling stands, it would keep Mr. Kennedy off the ballot in a state where he lived much of his adult life and could endanger his efforts to be placed on the ballot in dozens of other states. He has 3 days to appeal this decision handed down by a judge in Albany, New York. A group of New York residents, backed by Clear Choice, a Democrat-aligned political action committee, had challenged Mr. Kennedy's New York residency, arguing that his campaign had used a false address on tens of thousands of nomination petitions it circulated and submitted to place him on the ballot. If you're throwing money away, throw some my way. He and West are on North Carolina ballot now. Yikes. His lawyer, William Savino, said in an email that Mr. Kennedy has always planned to appeal any adverse rulings. Later Monday, the campaign said it would file a lawsuit in federal court in Manhattan. The 12th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution governs the residency of presidential and vice presidential candidates, not state law, said the campaign senior counsel, Paul Rossi. If state court judges are going to ignore the Constitution, the federal courts must step in to protect voters' rights. For his part, Mr. Kennedy has said if the Democrats are showing contempt for democracy, they They aren't confident they can win at the ballot box, so they're trying to stop voters from having a choice. We will appeal and we will win. Yeah, hey, real quick, who do you think is gonna win New York? Like, really, if your name was on the ballot, did you think that this guy would actually have a... Did you think he was going to have a chance? I certainly don't. If RFK Jr. gets 5% of the vote, I would be very surprised. Filing legally must have been the part of his brain that the worm got to. But F that guy. I agree. Clear Choices said that really makes clear that Mr. Kennedy lied about his residency and provided a false address on his filing papers and candidate petitions in New York, intentionally misleading election officials and betraying voter trust. The decision by Justice Christina Ryba, a state Supreme Court judge, could open Mr. Kennedy up to other challenges in states where Mr. Kennedy's on the ballot because his campaign used the same address to gather signatures in those states. Liz Smith, a strategist for the Democratic National Committee, which has backed some of the challenges to Mr. Kennedy, said in a statement, we'll be assessing our options in other states based off this ruling. The Democratic Party has dedicated a substantial legal and ground operation to challenging third-party candidate ballot access, which party leaders view as a threat to the Democratic ticket. For much of the past year, polling suggests that Mr. Kennedy would pull voters about equally from former President Trump and Biden. More recent polls suggest that his appeal has diminished and that he draws more from Mr. Trump than Vice President Kamala Harris. Yeah. Trump will win New York. Check notes. Oh, I must be wrong. I must hit my head. Womp womp. Welcome, Wolf Glenn. As of Friday, Mr. Kennedy was on the ballot in 19 states, including the crucial battlegrounds of Michigan, North Carolina, and the campaign has submitted petitions or filed for third-party status in more than 20 others, including New York. The campaign has won several other ballot challenges in states including Hawaii, New Jersey, and North Carolina. New York residency is especially important to Mr. Kennedy because his running mate, Nicole Shanahan, lists California as her home. Under a constitutional quirk, the presidential and vice presidential candidates who hail from the same state are ineligible to receive its electoral votes, and California, with its 54 electoral votes, is the biggest prize in the presidential election. Mr. Kennedy, 70 environmental lawyer, spends most of his time at home in L.A., that he shares with his wife, the actress Cheryl Hines. But the petition circulated earlier this year in New York listed an address for him in Katana, a hamlet about 45 miles north of New York City in Westchester County. For decades before he moved to LA in 2014, he lived in New York, where he raised a family and fought for cleaning up the Hudson with the group Riverkeeper. Lawyers for the voters who were seeking to invalidate his ballot access say that the Katona address belonged to a friend and that he actually never lived there. The trial began on August 5th, and Mr. Kennedy's lawyer did not give an opening statement, but in a statement posted on the campaign's website, they said he received mail in Katona and had driver's fishing and falconry licenses from New York. New York has been his residence continuously since 1964, and Mr. Kennedy has deep ties to it, said Mr. Savino. He intends to move back to New York as soon as his wife retires from acting. During the 4-day hearing, lawyers for the 4 voters who brought the suit, called Barbara Moss, who owns a house in Katana, she said Mr. Kennedy stayed in a spare bedroom. The bedroom was referred to in the judge's ruling on Monday. The court finds Kennedy's testimony that he may return to that bedroom to reside with his wife, family members, multiple pets, and all of his personal belongings to be highly improbable, if not preposterous. She concluded that Mr. Kennedy has demonstrated a long-standing pattern of borrowing addresses to keep the appearance of a New York residency. Oof. Yeah, it was a mistake. The VP picked from the same state. Exactly. The Katana home, the judge said, was merely a sham address that he assumed for the purpose of maintaining his voter registration and furthering his own political aspirations in the state. Ms. Moss, whose home is in foreclosure proceedings, testified that Mr. Kennedy has recently started paying $500 a month to rent a bedroom, though they had no written agreement. But she also revealed that she had started to receive those rent payments only in late May, shortly after the New York Post wrote a story questioning his residency. David Michaelis and Nancy Steiner, a couple who owns a Westchester home that Mr. Kennedy previously listed as his New York address for several years, flatly denied that their house qualified as his New York residency. Oh no. Mr. Snyder said on the stand that he had been shocked to see themselves represented in New York in news reports as his landlord. In a sworn affidavit, Mr. Kennedy had called Mr. Michaelis my friend and landlord and said that his friend had asked him to move out of the home in 2023, after which Mr. Kennedy switched his address to Ms. Moss's house. Mr. Michaelis called that a fiction. Good evening, late turning in. Anyways, how are you? Thank you. I appreciate that. No problem. I'm doing good. Ms. Steiner said that Mr. Kennedy had been a family friend for decades, but the relationship had hit the rocks when Bobby started chanting about certain conspiracy theories. The trial in Albany often veered into odd territory with discussions of falconry and Mr. Kennedy's fondness for ravens and his attempts to train a pair of those birds in his home in L.A. Mr. Kennedy's testimony had been immediately preceded by a bizarre incident in which the candidate confessed to collecting a dead bear off the side of the upstate highway in 2014, and then in a prank dumping the carcass in Central Park. Mr. Kennedy revealed, seriously, what a life, revealed the bear dumping in a video he posted on social media just before a critical New Yorker profile that included the same anecdote was published. After the bear story became public, resulting in a barrage of public criticism and mockery, Mr. Kennedy sought to fire back, placing a post on Twitter on Tuesday attacking the mainstream media. The more you smear me, Mr. Kennedy wrote, the more I'll keep speaking. Because he hated bike lanes. Amazing. Former Mesa County clerk Tina Peters convicted on 7 of 10 counts in Colorado election interference case. So, yep, there it is, folks. That's the one of the election interference cases. I think the worm really did something to him. Yeah, no kidding. Former Mesa County clerk Tina Peters was found guilty on Monday, yesterday, on 7 counts of 10 out of 10 in her Colorado election interference case. Peters, 68, was convicted on 3 counts of attempting to influence a public servant, 1 count of conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, first degree of official misconduct, violation of duty, and failure to comply with the Secretary of State. She was acquitted of an additional count of criminal impersonation, a charge of conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, and identity theft charges. She had pleaded not guilty to all counts in 2022. Sounds like war is going to start soon, Israel and Iran. Man, I will be watching that. It's almost hilarious how Trump is desperate in his search on how to find a strategy to fight Harris. Yes, we were actually just talking about that earlier. He's flailing. He's flailing, to say the least. Completely crashing and burning. News is saying that they're on high alert. Well, a regional outbreak of war a regional outbreak of war is not good. I believe the source of this is the fact that the Israeli government assassinated a Hamas leader that, from what I understand, was a key to negotiations, and they assassinated him right on Iranian soil, and yeah, I think it's not looking good. I noticed CNN has been broadcasting from there the last few days. Yeah, I mean they were but yeah. try to give Trump some credit, but you're right. 21st. So, anyways, the whole point of me rambling on about that is, yeah, it's quite possible, and that's not good for anybody. An expansion of this is not good for anybody. 21st Judicial District Judge Matthew Barrett read the jury's verdict on Monday after about 4 hours of deliberation. In the case that started roughly 2.5 years ago, the charges stem from allegations that as top election official in Mesa County, Peters helped breach the county election computer systems. In a grand jury indictment against her, prosecutors described Peters' efforts as a deceptive scheme which was designed to influence public servants, breach security protocols, exceed permissible access to voting equipment, and set in motion the eventual distribution of confidential information to unauthorized people. The prosecutor said Peters was seeking fame and became fixated on voting problems after becoming involved with those who had questioned the accuracy of the 2020 presidential election results. The case marked the first prosecution of a local election official over a suspected security breach in connection with the 2020 election. The breach heightened concerns over the possibility that rogue election workers could use their access and knowledge in a threat to election security. Peters, a Republican, had been embraced by election deniers, including My Pillow Guy, who said the 2020 election was rigged against former President Trump. She did not immediately respond to a text seeking comment Monday evening, and an email was bounced back as undeliverable. One of her attorneys also did not immediately respond to an email seeking comment. Tina Peters willfully compromised her own election equipment, trying to prove Trump's big lie. She had been found guilty of 4 felonies and 3 misdemeanors by a jury of her peers and will now face the consequences of her actions, said Colorado Secretary of State Jena Griswold in a statement. Quote, today's verdict sends a clear message. We will not tolerate any efforts to threaten the security of our gold standard elections. I'm proud that justice for Colorado voters have been served today. Peters is due to be sentenced October 3rd. All right, folks, we got one more. The UAW files labor charges against Trump and Musk alleging worker intimidation. The UAW said Tuesday that it filed federal labor charges against charges alleging former President Trump and Elon Musk attempted to intimidate and threaten workers during their Monday evening interview on the social media platform Twitter. I mean, quote, I look at what you do, Trump told Musk. You walk in, you say you want to quit, they go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, okay, you're all gone, you're off. So every one of you is gone. Federal law protects workers who go on strike from being fired, and it is illegal to threaten to do so, the UAW argued. When we say Donald Trump is a scab, this is what we mean. When we say Trump stands against everything our union stands for, this is what we mean, said President Sean Fain. Man, this guy, I swear, this guy continues to just be one of the most based forces in labor that we've seen in quite a while. Trump has sparred publicly with Fain and the UAW, which endorsed Vice President Harris last month for the upcoming presidential election. Following allegations of unfair labor practices, Musk's SpaceX has directly challenged the constitutionality of the NLRB in a move experts warn could hobble the agency charged with investigating allegations brought by employees, unions, and employers. Quote, Donald Trump will always side against workers standing up for themselves, and he will always side with billionaires like Elon Musk, who is contributing $45 million a month to a super PAC to get him elected, said Fain. Both Trump and Musk want working-class people to sit down and shut up and they laugh about it openly. It's disgusting, illegal, and totally predictable from these two clowns. Whew, man. I may not be here next week. The MMO I'm playing is getting an expansion, and there are 4 aspects of expansion that I want to fully explore. I completely understand that. It's okay. Clowns in a clown car, indeed. The AFL-CIO, a federation of 60 national and international labor unions, posted its own criticism of the conversation on X, saying scabs recognize scabs. True. Neither the Trump campaign or the spokesperson for X, which is owned by Musk, immediately responded to a request for comment. The UAW has been highly critical of Trump and sought to draw a sharp contrast between the former president and Harris, arguing that the vice president would deliver better results for unions than Trump. The record is clear. Donald Trump is all talk, but Kamala Harris has delivered for auto workers, Fain said in a video posted by the UAW. Following the video's release, the Trump campaign spokesperson Caroline Leavitt called Sean Fain a puppet for the Democratic Party, who's sadly not serving the millions of hardworking union laborers across the country who are supporting President Trump because they know he'll protect the jobs and put them first. Nah. Trump just saying that is a threat to workers. Yep. I could have if I've booked the days off, but those days are reserved for the week of my survival anniversary. People without kids, what do you do with all your lovely free time? I play video games. No, I'm kidding. Most of the time, I doom scroll Twitter, or I'm on the news websites. Or another way is I like to play video games. Yes. Yeah. I have teenagers now. This new idea of free time is amazing. The Trump team has been competing to court labor unions ahead of the November election, inviting Teamsters President Sean O'Brien to speak at the RNC. Last month, the Teamsters have not yet endorsed the presidential campaign. Poor kitty. What kind of ad is this? Never do this with an aging cat. In this free video, Dr. Marty Goldstein warns cat parents to stop making these common mistakes. Poor kitty. By the way, you should watch yesterday's appearance of Caitlin Collins on Stephen Colbert. It's quite enlightening. I just listened to him butcher a French accent in Despicable Me 4. Well, we did it, folks, and it's just under 7 o'clock, too. Look at that. We made it with 9 minutes to spare. Colbert's my favorite late show host. I don't watch that much late show and late night. I gotta admit, mainly because I don't have cable or means to watch it other than clips on YouTube. Folks, it is time. It's almost 7 o'clock and I gotta get going. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for the biddies. Thank you for the subscriptions. I appreciate that. Thank you for the follows. Thank you. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Oh, okay. Yeah, same. I'm dependent on YouTube too. Thank you for your support. We cannot do this without you. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. If you haven't done so, keep liking the stream. I see you on YouTube. Subscribe. Consider checking out the merch store. Join the Discord, folks. Join the Discord. There's lots of wonderful people on the Discord, and clips on YouTube still count. That's true. Thank you for the 10 biddies. I appreciate that. On the Discord, folks, we have a thing called Movie Night, and it's on the last Saturday of every month. This month we are doing Dune number 2. So if you want to participate or just kind of hang out, you are free to do so. Just join the Discord. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Thank you, Heat, for modding the chat. And I appreciate you guys stopping by. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all. I appreciate it. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Alviana, hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. Phew. The spice do be flowing. We barely made it, chat. Hang tight, folks. We're heading out. Excuse me. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye bye.